The first ever speeding ticket was issued to Walter Arnold on the 28th of January 1896 in Kent, England. He was blitzing through the town at 8 miles per hour, 4 times the legal limit, was chased for 5 miles by a police officer on a bicycle, and was fined 1 shilling when he was finally caught. Glad they caught that sick f***. Converse shoes have fuzzy soles so they can be imported as slippers, which dramatically reduces import taxes. In case of an emergency, Switzerland could fit 114% of its population in bunkers. David Tennant was so popular as the 10th Doctor in Doctor Who that BBC considered cancelling the show upon his exit rather than casting a new Doctor, as they thought the show would fail without him. A restaurant in Bangkok has been constantly cooking and serving from the same soup for 45 years, a form of perpetual stew. Elton John changed his name from Reginald Dwight. He also gave himself a middle name. His full name is Elton Hercules John. Those wounded while fighting in the French Foreign Legion can immediately apply to be a French citizen, as they are French by spilled blood. In-N-Out Burgers operates occasional pop-up restaurants in Australia for the sole purpose of protecting their trademark there. Belgrade, capital of Serbia, is in such a strategic position that it has been destroyed in war 44 times and battled over in 115 different wars. Despite publishing vast quantities of literature, only 3 Mayan books exist today due to the Spanish ordering all Mayan books and libraries to be destroyed for being lies of the devil. Scientists discovered a cypress tree in North Carolina that is at least 2,624 years old, which means the tree was alive for centuries before the advent of Christianity, the Roman Empire, and the English language.
Boom. Roasted.
Manawi, Nebraska is the only incorporated village in the US with population of 1. The sole resident, Elsie Ela, is the mayor as well as librarian and bartender. She pays tax to herself. An 8-year-old UK boy found a rock which was ambergris, a blob made when a sperm whale has a food irritant like squid beak, coats it in grease and vomits/poops it. Perfumeries like Chanel prize ambergris for its ability to fix scent to skin. The blob of ambergris was said to be worth about $63,000 US. It is completely legal for women to be topless in Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Utah. Pooping is really the only reason for a sloth to ever leave its tree, and it's the only time they have to stand upright. They only poop once a week, and can lose up to 1/3 of their body weight by pooping. Vikings brought Native American wives to Iceland, and their DNA is still present on the island. A gorilla carried a 3-year-old boy to safety after he fell into an enclosure at the Brookfield Zoo. The gorilla, named Binti Jua, gently carried the child to a safe place to protect him from the other gorillas. The boy suffered a broken hand and cuts to his face. A whistleblower said that Apple contractors regularly hear confidential details on Siri recordings and have even heard drug deals, medical details, and people having Shreks. A Turin is park ranger slang for a tourist who behaves like a moron when entering a national park. DNA tests of 39 of Adolf Hitler's living relatives suggest he had both Jewish and African ancestors. Soap operas are called soap operas because they were literally designed to sell Dove soap to stay-at-home women during World War II. Cities used to have ugly laws. People were fined $1 to $50 per day if they were deemed too ugly to go out in public. The last ugly law wasn't rescinded in Chicago until 1974.
Boom. Roasted.
Charles Darwin lost his faith in God after witnessing parasitic wasp larvae devour a caterpillar from the inside out. During the election of 1860, Abraham Lincoln's name did not appear on the ballot of 10 southern states, but he still won by a landslide. but plugs were originally designed as rectal dilators marketed as a cure for insanity and constipation. 300 years ago, Robert Boyle wrote down a wish list of inventions he hoped science would one day accomplish. We're over halfway there. Pandora Radio didn't pay its employees for 2 years. The CEO claimed he didn't know he was breaking the law. Minesweeper's theme was so controversial in some countries that Microsoft was forced to replace the mines with flowers in some locations and rebrand it as Flower Garden. It's illegal in the US for a convicted felon to own or wear a bulletproof vest. Gwyneth Paltrow named her company Goop because some branding expert told her that all successful internet companies have double O's in their name, so she just put 2 O's between her initials. Humans evolved to have white skin only 8,000 years ago. Our species has been around for about 300,000 years. Comedian Red Fox avoided the United States military draft for World War II by eating half of a soap bar before his physical, causing heart palpitations. In Japan, the majority of adoptees are childless adult males, adopted by families needing a strong heir for their business. Mark Twain wrote the very first novel that was ever written with a typewriter. That novel was Tom Sawyer. Antinatalism is a philosophy that argues that life is so painful that humans should not reproduce. The tap water in New York City has microscopic crustaceans in it. Because of this, it is considered not kosher. Jaguars once roamed throughout the southwestern US and as far east as Arkansas and Louisiana. In 2016, one was spotted in Arizona. 26 of the 50 best-selling video games of all time were made by Nintendo. Lorne Michaels, the creator of Saturday Night Live, considers Steven Seagal to be the biggest jerk ever on the show. Seagal is banned from ever hosting the show again. Beavis and Butthead saved Rob Zombie's career by featuring a white zombie video on the show in the early 90s. Tyrannosaurus Rex lived closer to the making of the movie Jurassic Park, 1993, than they did to the existence of Stegosaurus. It is legal to marry your first cousin in California and New York, but not in Kentucky, Louisiana, or Mississippi. Rosemary Kennedy, younger sister of John and Robert, was lobotomized at 23 to deal with mood swings and erratic behavior. Her mother was informed of this decision after the procedure had taken place. In the 70s, McDonald's briefly had a mascot for the Filet-O-Fish, Filet-O-Fish. Fast food chain KFC temporarily closed some branches in UK due to a shortage of chicken supply. As an apology, they ran an ad that rearranged the letters on their chicken buckets to FCK. The last legal heir to the Ottoman Empire, Ertugrul Osman, died in 2009, 85 years after its destruction. He was known in Turkey as the last Ottoman emperor. The first recorded example of written Finnish dates back to 1450 and reads, "I want to speak Finnish, but I'm not able to." In Jamaica, homosexual activity is punishable with up to a decade in prison. However, this law only applies to men, so lesbian activity is legal. Michael Bublé was fired as an extra from The X-Files because he stole a hot dog off the craft services table. The reason some people get sick when they read in the car is because your ear and your eyes disagree about whether or not you're moving. KFC released a romance novel written by Cole Sanders called Tender Wings of Desire. There is a restaurant in Tiny Union, Connecticut that gives books away to every person that dines there.
Fuck books.
Oh, no.
Books are for pussies.
No.
Go hit the gym.
No.
The Macarena is a song about a woman cheating on her boyfriend with his 2 friends while he's been drafted into the military. The largest fire in California's history was caused by a man trying to plug a wasp's nest with a stake and hammer. The Liberty Bell and Big Ben were made by the same company. The Space Force emblem isn't copied from Star Trek. The Army Air Force used the logo as far back as the 1940s. The Starfleet logo was influenced by the military, not the other way around. Platypuses produce milk despite lacking nipples. Instead of teats, they sweat milk from glands on their belly that their young then lap up. A man who in 1977 rode his bike from India to Sweden to be with the woman he would end up marrying. Fruit flies come from inside your fruit as larvae that hatch and become the flowers the fruit counter-ripens. M&Ms were created for the US Army so that soldiers could carry chocolate in tropical climates without it melting. Bees that make meat honey exist. The vulture bee collects and processes meat into honey. When Viagra is dissolved in water with flowers in them, the flowers stay erect up to a week longer than usual. Bamboo is not a type of wood, but a type of grass despite commonly being sold as a wooden worktop or a type of wood flooring. Argentina sent a pregnant woman to Antarctica, had her give birth there, and used the baby to reinforce its territorial claims. After being severed, a starfish not only regenerates a new limb but the limb itself can also regenerate a new body. Britney Spears has been under conservatorship for 12 years. Her father has legal control over most of her life. The actor that played Darth Vader in the original trilogy, David Prowse, is banned from attending official Star Wars events and considered persona non grata in general by Lucasfilm. Cheetahs can be easily tamed and were kept as pets in ancient Egypt and used to hunt in Rome. Glacier mice, fuzzy green balls of moss that form on top of glaciers and move like a herd of rodents. JFK refused to let Sammy Davis Jr. perform at the White House because he was a black man married to a white woman. Blobfish are actually normal looking fish, but they decompress when you take them out of water. Anne Frank's diary entered the public domain the same day as Hitler's Mein Kampf, and that a copyright dispute still swirls around the diary. The United States has 20 aircraft/helicopter carrier ships, the rest of the world combined has 24. Flavanols found in dark chocolate improve memory, focus and reaction time. Sleeping in a cold room can help you slim down. A study shows sleeping in a 66-degree room, Fahrenheit, can help increase your fat burning ability by 10%. A man saved a drowning 400-pound black bear. Both America and Australia have major store chains called Target, despite them being completely unrelated. The person Crocodile Dundee was based on died in a shootout with police in 1999. Paul McCartney, most famous for being a part of the Beatles, is also credited with writing the most #1 songs of all time in both the USA and UK. Southwest Airlines has only had 4 fatalities in its 53 years of operation, and 2 of those were not the fault of the airline. The atmosphere on Mars is so thin, the air at face level and the air at feet level would probably be vastly different temperatures. In Japan it is considered rude to tip staff at restaurants, as it's considered an act of pity. The only places in the United States where you can buy alcohol at 18 instead of 21 are Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. 21st century humans grow taller and reach sexual maturity earlier than ever before recorded in history. Walt Disney personally hated the Goofy character and found its cartoons to be stupid. The only reason he didn't axe the character is because it gave work to so many animators. Marine plants, such as seaweed and algae, produce 70 to 80% of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere. Pabst Blue Ribbon makes whiskey that is aged for 5 seconds to make it fit the legal definition of whiskey. Nearly 250,000 Americans die every year from medical errors, making it the 3rd leading cause of death in the country. The Roman Emperor Nero was publicly married to a freed male slave. Nero was the bride. If an animal on a Malaysian postage stamp is nocturnal, its eyes will glow.